What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and today we're going to be breaking down some routes from the best wide receiver at Arizona State. So I hope this video helps you guys out. Hope it could teach you a few new things, but also, fellas, if you are a wide receiver or a quarterback and would like to train with us this offseason, we are going to be coming out to 7 more states across the U.S. for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver camps. Our next 3 camps in Boston, Cleveland, and Austin are all completely sold out. However, we will be coming out to Seattle, Newark, New Jersey, Denver, Colorado, and Los Angeles, California, and all those camps have remaining spots. So check out that very first link in the description below. If you'd like to come out and train with us, fellas, we'd love to have you out to one of our 2-day-long camps. Again, very first link below. Let's get started with this video. So the best wide receiver on ASU is a wide receiver named Xavier Guillory. So he's a very, very technical route runner that I think every single young wide receiver can learn from, just with the releases that he uses, just the moves that he uses at the top of the route, and obviously how he structures his route. So this entire one-on-ones film, because all these clips are clips from their spring ball and him running one-on-ones against talented DBs, is have blueprint to how you guys can create separation. So the first release he decides to use here is going to be something called a slide release. So this is essentially a release you would use when you have a DB who's lined up maybe inside shade press, trying to take away the inside, and you have to run a route like a quick slant, 5-yard in, maybe a 5-step slant, and the play is a little bit longer developing. You wouldn't use this release if it was like a quick slant where the quarterback is just catching it, taking one step and letting it fire. It's a longer developing play. So you have to make sure that your release times up with the timing of the play, essentially. So this slide release, what we were trying to do is we were trying to make it look like something called a slide and go release. So you guys see receivers do it all the time, like, Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams. They'll get a DB who's inside shade, and let's say they got to run a fade route. And Devontae Adams is famous for this. They'll come off the ball, they'll give this little slide to the outside like Guillory does, and then they take off to the outside. Because DBs are taught when they see this slide to sit to the inside. Don't give up the inside, protect your leverage, do not give up the slant. So when you slide to the outside and then give that little tempo change, DB changes tempo, he sits, and then we go. So now maybe Guillory's worked this a couple times. Maybe if you're a wide receiver and you're trying to use this, maybe you've showed that slide and go on film, so you want to try to build off of it. And that is something and all great wide receivers can do, is they can build off of their releases. They make their releases look the exact same off the line to keep this DB on his toes and to keep him guessing. So when he comes off the ball, most important thing on this slide release is that we do not go flat on the slide release, because that is going to cause this DB to not have to commit to something. So a lot of wide receivers, when they do this slide, they'll do this kick step. You see how he uses his back foot to kind of create some explosion. This is not a false step. This is a part of the release. What this foot does, this little like punch step, kick step, if you will, it creates energy. It loads up his hips. So off the ball, he can shoot to the outside. And that gets some momentum that allows him to attack and allows him to attack vertically, forcing this DB to make a decision. Now, like I said, a lot of guys won't do that. And even some guys who do use that kick step, they slide, but they go flat. And if you go flat, even if the DB jumps, you still have to get to here on your slant. And there's too big of a gap between you and the DB, and he could easily recover and beat you to that spot, especially if it's a route where you're trying to press downfield. So with your slide, you have to really try to attack his outside shoulder and outside hip, forcing him to make a decision. So that's what Guillory does. He has this kick step. He slides to the outside. He's attacking. He could easily just take off and go run a fade. So he's making this DB make a decision. This DB could either jump to the outside and play the fade, or he could sit to the inside and play the slant. Either way, we should be able to win on either route. So let's say, for example, we slide to the outside right now. We go, we hit him with this crossover, and that's what Guillory does to sell this fade, to sell like he's doing that slide and go. DB jumps, and that gets him a ton of separation back to the inside. So it's about pairing your releases together, fellas. All great wide receivers, all great route runners know how to pair their releases together and make things look the same. So let's play this again full speed one more time. So remember, it's a slide, then a crossover. And now you could build off of it. Maybe the DB now is anticipating that he's going to be doing that slide, crossover, and trying to run a slant. So maybe you got to run a fade. You do that slide and take off and go beat him to the spot. Fellas, that's what route running is about. It's about deception and making that DB think you're simply just doing something else. Now, next example I want to talk about here is how you can make a DB miss laterally. So I feel not enough wide receiver coaches talk about this. I feel like this is something that you see, but not a lot of guys necessarily know how to do it. So if you got a DB who's right up in your face, crowding this line of scrimmage, pressing you, not giving you any room, it's kind of hard to close the distance with him or to step into him because he's not giving you any room. He's not giving you much room to operate off the line. So how do you get separation? And that comes from making him miss laterally. So there's another example of Guillory here in this great press rep. So he comes off the ball, hits this wide receiver with this quick crossover move, is able to get space, and then is able to score on that slant route. So let's talk about it, right? DB's not giving us any room. Let's say, for example, this DB, because this DB isn't like head up press right in front of the guy, right in front of our face. Let's say this DB was maybe 2 yards off and you had to run like a quick 10-yard in. Say it was a 10-yard in, for example. You wouldn't just take off and try to run around the DB if there were 2 yards of space. You wouldn't just try to go around him. You would close space. You'd attack him and then go. You would try to threaten him. No different than if he's like inside shade, you're going to try to jab to the inside and threaten him to the inside. He's off, you got to close space. But now, when there's no space to close, you got to make sure you just treat it like you've already closed space. Let's make him miss laterally. So what Guillory does here is he takes this quick kind of crossover move. You see how he gives this quick inside step jab. That's not necessarily the most important step of the release. It's important that you step quickly and you keep it inside your frame. You're not selling anything with that first step of the crossover, but he goes inside jab and then he pushes off of this inside jab to step wide and threaten this DB with his hips, with his shoulders, selling that thing with his upper half, with the quickness, combined with the quickness of his feet, and that's what gets that DB to jump. Make him miss laterally when you don't have space to close and you can't attack vertically. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, fellas. Make sure, again, that we are selling with that upper half. My feet are quick, my feet are sudden, but we're making him miss laterally. We're stepping outside of his frame, but almost flat, rather than stepping outside of his frame, attacking and going vertical. Just know, you make him miss vertical most of the time, but he's not giving you any space. You have to come at him with some kind of lateral move, especially when he is trying to stay disciplined and watch those hips. A good thing that I'll tell my wide receivers to do that seems to help them out is that when you throw this crossover, think of it like your belly button is trying to turn to the sideline. You throw that crossover, try to be loose with your hips, loose with your upper half, because that's what a good DB is going to be watching, and that is what will help you sell the route. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Guillory showcasing that quick crossover and making that DB miss laterally when he's not giving us any space. So now, this next example here is going to be against off-man coverage. So we have a DB who's lined up kind of inside leverage, off-man coverage, and he is going to be running a post-out route, or some people call this a blaze out. I wouldn't consider this like a deep whip. A lot of people will call this a deeper whip. It's considered a post-out or a blaze out. So let's talk about how this works, because this is like a double move, very similar to a post corner, very similar to an out and up. You would sell it the exact same way. And this is what all great route runners can do. So DBs are always on the alert for a double move, especially if they're playing a team. Like, let's say, for example, you got a game on Friday, you're a high school wide receiver, and you are trying to, let's say you're a high school DB, for example, and you're trying to prepare for a team that you're playing, and they like to run a lot of double moves. You're going to be looking for differences in their regular routes compared to their double moves. So you're going to look at how this wide receiver will run a post. Then you're going to look at how the wide receiver runs a post out. And most of the time, wide receivers do not run it the exact same way and do not sell the first move enough to create separation against a disciplined guy. Against an undisciplined DB, it should be easy money, fellas. You just got to know how to run routes. You just got to be able to run without falling down pretty much. But against a disciplined guy, there are certain things that you have to do to be able to sell a double move route. So what DBs look for is they look for two things when they break to this slant. Break to this post. Number one, a change in speed. Number two, a change in stride. So let's play this thing full speed and watch what Guillory does here. He breaks to the post. He sells this thing extremely well. I think we played this full speed once before, but I'm going to play it again. You see there's no difference in speed to the post. A lot of wide receivers will cut here. They'll break to the post, and they take these choppy steps because they are preparing for their outbreak. They're preparing for the corner break. If you're running an out and up, they're preparing for the vertical portion of the route. They're slowing themselves down because it's an easier cut when you slow yourself down. However, that doesn't sell the route as long as possible. So when you guys break to this post, you guys break on a sluggo, whatever it is, there's got to be some speed to there. Now, not only do you have to have speed, not only do you have to have stride, you got to make sure that you commit your body language. And now, when you guys do a double move, your eyes are not even the most important thing. Your eyes are important, and so many people stress the eyes. Guys will tell you, on a slant and go, your eyes tell lies. You have to snap your eyes to the quarterback. And yes, it certainly can help. It certainly can help you sell the route. But a disciplined DB is not going to be looking at your eyes. He's going to be trying to read your speed, and he's going to be trying to read your hips and your body language. So if he's reading your hips and your body language, a lot of wide receivers, what they'll do is they're too anxious to get out of this double move. So let's say it's a post out, for example. Guys will break 1, 2, 3, and he's supposed to break off of this third step. Guys will start to turn their hip and turn their shoulder to the break before their foot gets down and they make that cut. That is a dead giveaway that you are no longer running that first move. You have to commit your hips, commit your shoulders, commit your speed, commit your stride, and then maybe even add your eyes on. The eyes certainly help. Don't get me wrong, fellas, but the eyes are not the most important part. DB ain't supposed to be looking there. He's reading those hips and that speed. If you can sell that, commit your body language and have speed, that will get you a ton of separation on double move routes and take your route running to that next level. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job here by Guillory selling this post, getting that DB to crash, and then getting some separation on that out portion of this route. Okay, so now, next example here. And again, this tape of him is filled with great examples of him working routes. If you guys get a chance to watch any of the ASU spring ball clips where they go one-on-ones, like it is a very, very good teach tape for any young wide receiver out there. So this is another example of him selling a double move, but it's against press coverage, right? So he is going to be running a Sluggo on this, and this builds off of the very first release that we looked at. So let's play this full speed. So he comes off here, slides to the outside, slips underneath, and then is able to get separation on that slant and go. So whenever you are running a double move against press coverage, because that's where a lot of people have questions on a double move. A double move against zone is pretty easy. You just got to close the space and then make sure you sell the route. But if you have to run a route like a Sluggo and you're against inside shade press, you got to try to make it look exactly how you would run a slant versus inside shade press. So remember that very first example we looked at from Guillory. What did he do? He did a slide release to the outside. DB committed. He slipped underneath and ran a slant. So he can use that type of release on this slant and go if the timing of the play is there, right? If it's a quicker slant and go where the quarterback wants to throw it now, quick cover zero coverage, but he probably wouldn't even throw a double move if I'm being honest. When it's like cover zero something quick, he would probably check this route to just a quick fade. But if you still have that double move, you got to make it look the same. So what does he do here? He takes that same old jab step. He does this slide to the outside. He gives a move. He slips underneath like he's running a slant, and then it's the same principles as that post out. He's running in full stride, running in full speed. Again, DB is going to be watching his hips, not his eyes. Yes, selling with your eyes can help, but committing your hips and committing your shoulders is what will get you more separation. And then you see the amount of space that he's able to create. And all it takes, fellas, when you have a talented quarterback, a Division I level quarterback, is just maybe a couple steps of separation. And you can get that by making that route and pairing that release with the double move. So let's play this again, full speed one more time. Great job by Guillory here. You showcasing that slide release, making it look exactly to a T like a slant, and then getting separation on that Sluggo route. All right, fellas, I really want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions at all, don't hesitate to leave those in the comment section below. Always appreciate the feedback. It's always great to hear from you guys. And again, fellas, if you would like to come out and train with us in 7 different states this offseason, we're going all the way from Boston to Los Angeles. Check out that very first link in the description below. We'd love to get you out there, fellas. Again, very first link below. I'll see you guys next time.